Hi fellow readers, hi my darlings. I'm glad you're back. And welcome to the newbies, of course.
I was going to say
So we are on the 15th video in English since the announcement on my homepage video of my channel's return in literary critics. So for the fourth time I'm gonna be here to talk about my illustrated readings. Surely you've noticed I spoke about 2 mangas and only 1 comic book collection between the 2 of them for now so far. I intend to continue to alternate videos on each one of the 2, and this is then a video where I will be presenting you a second comic book series that I really liked. So for the moment, which is a bummer, I don't have any of the albums with me now. I have no copy at all, but thanks to the magic and to my amazing skill sets of editings, you will be entitled to watch the covers, unlike me, who must speak from my distant memories, which are dating from middle school, so bear with me. So one day I will add this collection to my bubble books, as I call them in French, library bookshelves that are right here. This one you'll see, and this is because I think it would help me finally, because I really want to finish this series. So let me explain myself before you jump on me like, what are you saying? Why are you recommending something you've never finished? Maybe the ending will be terrible. So what? The joy is amazing, bitches. Sorry, I don't know why when I'm filming a video in English the sass is coming off. So do you remember the video where I was introducing you to the Legendaries comics, and the sound and the audio completely like flipped me off and said, nah, I'm not here to stay, and I had to work in order to get this video on time, more hours on my editing just to add colorful subtitles. Well, I had another book series that I read at the same time I discovered this one, and especially at the same place, which is the library of my middle school, and this time I found it on my own like a grown-ass. Yeah, because the cover really caught my eye. It was like flirting with me, and I was like so receptive, you know. So I started it when I was about 12 years old, and after a year I was done with it, and I think for the 2 years following I was still rereading my favorite passages whenever I was feeling like reading this series and alternating it with the Legendaries. I think I can recall that only the year before I went to high school did the librarian there added a new album, but this was not the last one back then nor now, so I think it was the 10th or 11th one, and it was out only in 2014, whereas I left middle school in 2017. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that the comic book storage was not the priority in my middle school. Too bad, because I would have liked to be more ahead in this series collection. Yeah, because now this story has been surviving in my head for years, and I still can't figure out how this could possibly end, or I am just too eager to know what I've missed, you know? So this is La Rose Écarlate, a French title, I know. In English, it is The Scarlet Rose. It is written by Patricia Lifung, and the French series began to be published in 2005. The latest volume, though, the number 19, was published in 2022. So yeah, not that long ago, yeah, I kind of, whenever I'm doing my researches to, know what I'm going to talk about in these types of video, I have so much images and so much research done that I'm like, I want to read it now. So maybe I will read it online in the meanwhile that I wait for until I can buy, this collection. But I don't know, we'll see. Maybe next week I will be more into whatever books I'm gonna speak about in the next video. So what is it about? Well, this comic book is one about adventure, and especially of capes and swords, with a very slow burn romance. We follow our protagonist Maud, who at her father's death, she is now taken by her grandfather, because she's a woman in the 18th century in France, so she can't be single living on her own. Side eye. This grandpa is judging her education. It displeases him how she behaves and her attitude and her personality for a woman of such her rank, because he's a socially high-class male. So yeah. The 18-year-old girl is only interested in fencing and anything to do with a certain local Robin Hood who floats the rich from the rich to redistribute to the poor, and he's called Le Renard, which means the fox in French. And of course, she quickly wants to join the anonymous hero in his actions of the night, and makes sure to hide under her mask her identity to pursue this legacy on her own by quickly being nicknamed the Scarlet Rose in the hope of meeting her hero, So meanwhile, in the daytime, she has to meet characters of her grandfather's entourage, or perhaps a tiny teensy bit involved a little too closely in shenanigans that she tries to better uncover and prevent before they get too far. So later, finding herself having to deal with bigger misdeeds than anticipated, while her admiration forces the fox, whose secret identity was not like a big heroic thing. It was just another rich kid of her age who is like bored and has overflowing money to play with, so he thought it would be cool to prank other people of his high classes without revealing his identity, just because he doesn't want to deal with the repercussions and consequences. Well, now he has no choice but to look after the miss and discover what it actually feels like to do something out of care. So the author put forward a courageous heroine, and that can sometimes be missed in adventurous historical romances. No, but I would say more like comic books or whatever books. Also, there is a mystery, there's a touch of humor, and beautiful dynamic drawings close to the manga style. Hence, there are different and many elements that pleased my little person, and which still makes me to this day want to know more about this collection, this series, these comic books, this story, you get it. So this story was published in English by Paper Cuts Edition only in 2017, so pretty late compared to French dates, under the name of course, The Scarlet Rose, and each volume contains the equivalent of 2 French volumes, and for now, this series is not complete, even less so in English than in French. Let me explain myself. I have the list with me, don't worry. So, The first one being I Knew I'd Meet You was published in September 2017 in England or English-speaking countries, and it contains the French album One, I Knew I'd Meet You, published earlier in June 2005, and the number 2, I Want You to Love Me, published in June 2006. Bear with me, it's not over. So then I Go Where You Go, published on May 2018 in English, contains the French album number 3, I'll Go Where You Go, published in May 2007, and the number 4, I Will Go to See Venice, published in May 2008. And I Think I Love You, published in June 2018 in English, contains the French album 5, I Will Always Be With You, published in April 2009 in France, and number 6, I Think I Love You, published in April 2010. The series is in collaboration with Philippe Ogaki for the script, and through the whole of it, it was accompanied, though at times not always the same ones, by many other colorists and illustrators, according to different coming volumes. This whole series was divided into cycles of 6 albums in France. So we end here the first one entitled Le lieu de Dieu. My own translation would be The Place of God. We keep going with the next volumes being again in English, You Will Always Be Mine, and it was published on July 2019 and contains album number 7, You Will Always Be Mine, published in June 2011, and the number 8, Where Are You, published in October 2012. So the last and 5th English volume to this date is You Should Have Let Me Die, which was published in March 2020, and it contains the French album number 9, Will You Forgive Me, published in October 2013 in France, and the number 10, You Should Have Let Me Die, published in October 2015. Then there's only the French version, which was number 11, Can You Understand This, published in October 2015, and number 12, You Opened My Eyes, published in October 2016, and with which we finished the second cycle entitled La Fontaine de Jouvence. So the youth fontaine, or Jouvence's fontaine, I don't know how it is in English folklore called, but it's very popular in the French one. It's quite a reference to get. So then we keep going with the list. So there's the 13th album, She's Changed So Much, published in October 2017. There's the 14th album, She's Always Protected Me, published in October 2018. There's the 15th album, She Makes the World a Better Place, published in April 2019. There's the 16th album, He Trusts Me, published in November 2019. So this is the first time that there's like 2 books in the same year, I believe, because usually it's every year. Then there's the 17th album, being He's Still There, published in November 2020. And then there's the 18th album, She's Back, published in November 2021. So after this volume, I don't know if we are starting a new cycle or if they are included in the 3rd one. And this one is entitled Le Cercle, which is the circle in English. There's still a 19th, like I said, volume, and it is called We Are Linked, and it was published in November 2022. I know, for my birthday, like what? Please. Maybe for my birthday this year there will be the 20th, because yeah, I actually, looked it up after I figured that the 19th and the last volume published this date was out so close by, And there's one French site that revealed a cover for 20th book, but there's like no info about it. So I would say there's confirmation that this is not the end, but I have no other information to share with you. So yeah. Anyways, this is the French version, and if you want to read the French version, you can watch the French version of my video. And if you don't speak French and don't read it, therefore you are anyway, you have a long time to wait before your publications in translated versions go to this length. Also, there was 2 novels written by Sarah Cohen-Scally in 2009. The first one being Drop the Masks, and the second one is Venice Mission. So the story there isn't exactly the same as in the original comic book. And in May 2018, Patricia Leifung herself published a novel whose reader is the hero. So it is entitled The Scarlet Rose and the Mystery of 8 Fans. So another novelization of the comic was published by Cécile Beaucourt in October 2018. The first one is I Knew I'd Meet You, and the second one is I Want You to Love Me. This adaptation is said to be more faithful to the comic strip and is even accompanied by illustrations by Patricia Leifung. I haven't read any of these novels, but I am adding them to this video in case you're not a big fan of comics, but you're still intrigued by the story. Just to tell you that there are novels, though they are in French. All of the titles that I just recited you were my own translation. There is also a spin-off comic book series, also written by Patricia Leifung, but drawn by Jenny. And this is called Scarlet Rose Missions. It tells in smaller format the adventures of the Scarlet Rose and the Fox between volumes 6 and 7 when they return from the Ottoman Empire. Each is divided in 2 volumes, and this is called diptychs. I don't know how you could pronounce it in English. I must admit, this was a new word even in French for me. So she portrayed in it their double lives as vigilantes collaborating. And here is the list. I guess I'll see later if I would like to read those and collect them too. But you know, I already quite a lot to collect, and it is costly. So I'm not that sure, you know. Just if I want to keep going with this world and universe, you know. The first one is The Spectrum of the Bastille, and the first half was published in November 2013. Meanwhile, the second part with the same title is published in May 2014. Then there's the third book, The Lady in Red, and the first part is published in May 2015. Meanwhile, its second part with the same title once more was published in June 2016. Then there's the fifth album, Beauty and the Wolf, which first half was published in May 2017 and the second part was released in May 2018, and once more it has the same title. Then there's number 7, so Memories of Scotland. The first half was published in August 2019. Meanwhile, its second part was out in September 2020 and once more has the same title. Then there's the 9th. This is called The Bride of the Sea. And for now, since it was released and published in May 2022, there's only the first part. I don't know if the second part will be published later this year, for example, or if this miniseries is stopping here. I don't know. So this story is recommended for 8 years old, starting 8 years old. So the author has also released another series of 18 volumes entitled Mythics, and another of 4 volumes called A Prince That Could Just Be Eaten, Sorry, this translation is not awesome, as it used a typical French phrase with no English speaking proper equivalent, so it's just like a prince that is so cute that you want to bite him. I don't know if you understand. Okay, so both look nice to me. I really like those drawings, and I think it would be cute stories also. But before I add more bubble books in my TBR, we'll wait until I'm just done with the long list of all the ones I've started but could never finish, whereas I really want to now. So, well, I guess I don't have much more to say and to add on, other than, of course, I really recommend this reading, and so you should, you know, go buy the English versions of those books and, you know, get yourself immersed into it, in this story. So this video is much shorter, and I think it does you as much good as it does to me. I even dare to hope to be able to edit and post this video on time this time. Like a Sunday would be amazing, although I'm careful. I won't go ahead of myself. I won't promise you anything again, otherwise I'm going to jinx myself. We don't want that. So you know the drill by now. Here's a reminder of my Insta link where I talk about books monthly. I also put in the description down below the link to my Goodreads profile, and there you can see at what pace I'm reading my books on a daily basis. I invite you, of course, to comment below the video if you knew these comics. Did you like those? Did you not? For each of those two answers, you can explain me why without spoiling further than the 10th book, please, because I'm, you know, I want to play it safe out here. And for those who didn't know these comics, would you like to read them now, thanks to my amazing, you know, sellout? I'm happy to see any review, feedback, whatever, so you are welcome to do so. And with that last note, I'll go back to my Kindle, or I would rather say to my comics. As always, I wish for you to get good readings. I hope your return to school went well. I will see you next time. If the coming back to school doesn't take too much of my time, so I mustn't promise you anything once more. But yeah, anyway, with a big smile, it's time to say goodbye. So bye.